Hey gang, straight from JTech and welcome to another JTech video. In this third episode of Decoded, today we'll be talking about the failures of the once promising company that came to Zambia, that is MTech Mobile Communications. Now we're going to boil this down into three main factors, or the reasons why I believe MTech failed. But before we get into this video, this is going to be my new format. I will be uploading every episode on the last week of every month. So stick around, hope you hit the subscribe button, and hope you like the video. So let's just get into episode 3 of Decoded. Now, MTech Mobility was a company that came in 2009. This was a rush towards the end of the 2000s decade where a bunch of multinational companies came to Zambia and set up their factories. MTech was the very first company to build a phone assembly plant in Africa, and in 2009 this was a very huge deal for the then booming Zambian economy. Fast forward to 2020, it's a very obscure company that I believe could have done so much better in Zambia. The three factors I believe that led to the failure of MTech in Zambia were poor marketing, undifferentiated products, and an awareness to new market trends. Let's start with the poor marketing. At the end of the 2000s, feature phones were still a huge deal. The iPhone was released a couple of years earlier, and Android phones slowly and surely started to get into their groove. But in Zambia, you could only think of one phone and one phone only, and that was the feature phone. At this time, Nokia, LG, and Motorola were the top dons in the mobile industry, and MTech was just a brand new fish in the sea. And also at the time, the shiny, counterfeit Chinese phones were a huge deal in Zambia. MTech promised to go with the tagline of Made in Zambia in order to encourage pride and ensure that people are aware of where this phone is coming from so that the money stays in the economy. Well, unfortunately, MTech decided to forego their plans of partnering with the major networks at the time, and they decided to sell these phones directly to Game, which is owned by Walmart and is Africa's largest retail store. As far as I'm concerned, had they gone the honorable route and partnered with either MTN or Airtel, most of their phones would have been in the hands of so many people. But the fact that they decided to go straight into retail without consulting most of, if not the biggest networks in Zambia, they shot themselves in the foot, and it was very difficult for them to penetrate the market. Other than failing to market and distribute their products with the right channels, MTech tended to sell their phones at slightly higher prices than that of many Chinese competitors. This led to a bit of an alienation when it came to the Zambian market. Now, the second reason why MTech failed was the undifferentiation of products. MTech phones, or should I say feature phones at the time, ran basic Java software that could let you use the internet, basic primitive 2G browsing, FM radio, and games. And before smartphones came, it was a very wild market out there that Nokia and Motorola dominated. MTech was being battered by the glut of Chinese phones that came in Zambia that were unregulated and highly subsidized, and it meant you could buy phones for as little as $5. MTech tended to sell their phones for as much as $25, and they never really offered any compelling features for the Zambian consumer, and their software came in the same package as that of the counterfeit Chinese phones. A few good people had many high-end Nokia phones like Express Music phones and N-series phones, but MTech wanted to undercut the import market, and they made a mistake as well by selling his phones at a ridiculously slightly higher price of $25 instead of challenging the $50 market. And the final reason why I believe MTech failed was they did not recognize a change in market. 2009 was the last good year of feature phones, and as we were entering the 2010s, smartphones were the most sought after gadget in all of human history. MTech were in a special position of where, had they researched enough, had they given enough time, would have beaten out Huawei in terms of the Zambian, if not the Southern African mobile market. But 3 and 4 years into the 2010s, MTech were still making very basic feature phones that did not attract a young market that was beginning to get into social media and wanted to access data and information at the palm of their hands. MTech had come out with a report saying that their phones were never selling well, and most Zambian consumers preferred Chinese imports over locally made MTech products. But in honesty, they were complaining because no one bought their phones that were running basic versions of Java-based software that no one wanted at the time. A lot of people flocked to BlackBerry, Huawei, and Samsung smartphones because they were much more affordable and easier to connect to social media like Facebook, WhatsApp, BlackBerry Messenger, Twitter, and many other social networks. These MTech phones were seen as very old phones that only attracted one particular customer, and that is the older generation or the rural population that weren't as tech savvy as the young city dwellers in big cities like Lusaka, Ndola, Livingston, and many other places around Zambia. These three factors are very important when it comes to companies building a market, especially in price-sensitive areas like Zambia and Southern Africa. Had MTech been aware to many market trends, had they partnered with the big three networks, and had they offered a different product, a different experience to that of, say, Nokia and Motorola, they would have found success, because I do believe Zambian consumers like to support their own. And had they been very aware of these three and other little factors as well, the landscape in Zambia in terms of smartphones and mobile phones would have changed completely. But now the MTech company decided to fold their factories in Zambia, and you barely hear about them. Last time I checked, they do make smartphones now, but they're specifically for the Indian market, and also Indians do not like their products simply because they're cheap and clunky. And that's really the end of this video, guys. What do you think about this episode of Decoded? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I decided to open up this Pandora's box because once I was going through, I went through a little Google fact check, and seeing that MTech was the very first company in Africa to set up a mobile phone assembly, especially in Zambia, I just had to do a story on why these guys came with such a bang and left with such a whimper. So that's the end of this video, guys. Hope you like this video, and if you like this video, hit that like button, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. It's been Jay from JTech. Talk to you guys next time.